This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. On this segment, we take a look at some of the headlines you may have missed this morning. We also take a look at some of the political pieces we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 13th of January, and I am CS.
I'm Tom.
I am JM. In case you missed the headlines this morning, here they are in the Daily Nation. Uhuru invites Azimio MPs to election talks. In the Standard, eyes on Uhuru as Natembeya begins exits. The Star, Kalonzo team pushes for poll deal with Raila. And in the People Daily, Uhuru hosts MPs after RUTO defeat. Can we just outrightly toss the Standard?
Absolutely.
You cannot put the head of state
Yes.
together with a provincial commissioner. This is unacceptable. Toss that one.
Kabisa.
Can we tackle the rest? But kick us off to him.
Bent Flyberg, a Danish professor at Oxford, once said, infrastructure is a great space shrinker. Power, wealth, and status belong to those who know how to shrink space. I'm sure you're all asking what I'm on about. I will tell you. The last 10 years, no country in Africa has developed more infrastructure than Kenya. In fact, in the last 4 years, Kenya has developed 3 of Africa's largest pieces of infrastructure. 1, the Nairobi Expressway. Not a single African country can compare. 2, the Port of Lamu. In fact, Lamu Port is the first and only seaport an African government has ever built. And 3, the Kipevu Oil Terminal. The only terminal in Africa that can handle over 750 million liters of all types of fuel in one go.
Yeah.
It can process 9 times Uganda's monthly fuel demands at a go.
Wow.
The idea behind all the infrastructure is to shrink all our linkages. This means bringing all factors of production closer to each other. I will give you an example. If Kenya did not merge the new MGR and the new SGR networks in Naivasha, cargo would still take 72 hours from Mombasa to Malaba. Now, it only takes 28 hours. A whole 2-day difference. If we relied on road to transport goods between Mombasa and Malaba, we will spend 7 days. But when we use rail, we cut down distance from 1 day from 72 hours to 1 day and 4 hours. If we relied on the old Kipevu terminal to download fuel from ships, we would handle only 1 ship a day. But because Uhuru has just built a new one, we can do 20 vessels in 1 day. Because we have done SGR, we can now move 10,000 people every day between Mombasa and Nairobi. If we had not built SGR, we will only be moving 1,000 people a day. Because we have built the expressway, we can now move 120,000 vehicles from Mlolongo to Rironi every single day, and not the 60,000 we moved before. What's our point here? Kenya is now $50 billion richer because we have shrunk space. We have connected labor, capital, goods and services more efficiently than Jomo, Moi and Kibaki and the colonizers combined ever did. But I have another thought. When President Kenyatta was and is busy building Kenya, where was RUTO? How is it that in the 4 years, Uhuru has built 3 of Africa's largest pieces of infrastructure? How is it he's done that without his deputy? If you remember on Jamhuri Day, as the president was leaving Uhuru Gardens, he decided to show RUTO around the masterpiece he was creating at Uhuru Gardens. RUTO seemed pretty impressed, but as impressed as he was, he must also have been ashamed. Ashamed because where was he when the beautiful Uhuru Gardens was being constructed? Where was he when the Nairobi Expressway, Kipevu Oil Terminal and the Lamu Port were being completed? The truth is RUTO absconded duty in Uhuru's second term. Question is, if he absconded duty, why should he be the one to take over Uhuru's masterpieces? And herein, I have another thought. Do you think it is possible RUTO simply did not understand Uhuru's vision?
He didn't.
I think so as well. When you hear someone shouting Mama Mboga, Boda Boda, and Kuku, while his boss is busy building expressways and ports, then you see the difference in aptitude. One is a pipe builder, the other one is a bucket carrier. And that's why we must tell you today, Ruto cannot be our future. And if he was, Africa and the world would never forgive us.
Today, I'd like to talk about the power of sneakiness. Raila's success in climbing the mountain continues to prove one thing to Kenyans. Even at the age of 77, he remains as cunning as a fox. And that cunningness is what will propel him to State House.
Yes.
Let me explain. A long time ago, before Formula One was Formula One, when it was called the Grand Prix, there was a great driver known as Achille Varzi. In 1930, Achille Varzi was the equivalent of Lewis Hamilton. In that year's competition of the Mille Miglia, he was the man to beat, much like Ruto. The 1,000-mile race ran well into the night. Varzi had been leading throughout the competition and was very near the finish line. Like everyone who runs a marathon, Varzi did a quick check in the rearview mirror. There was no one behind him. And because he was confident in his vehicle, he eased up on the accelerator. 5 seconds later, a car emerges out of pitch darkness behind him. They put full beam lights and sped past.
Yes.
Vroom.
Yeah.
The driver who sped past him was Tazio Nuvolari.
Yes.
Nuvolari, it turned out, had been sitting behind Varzi, tailing him in the dark with his headlights off. He had been lying in wait, waiting for Varzi to get complacent
Yes.
and ease off the accelerator.
Yes.
This was a clever move on his part.
Yes.
Because he knew Varzi had the tendency to become overconfident, he made him believe he was alone.
Yes.
Varzi, as he expected, fell for it right at the finish line. And that is why Ferdinand Porsche, the founder of Porsche, called Nuvolari the greatest driver of the past, the present, and the future.
Yes.
Now, Ruto, like Achille Varzi, who has been the man to beat in this 2022 contest, became a little too complacent, running against nobody throughout since the 9th of March or the 9th of April 2013. This guy has been running for the office of president. Alone.
Yes.
But Baba the Fifth, all this time, like Tazio Nuvolari, had been tailing him with his lights off. And then, vroom. Yeah? On the 10th of December last month,
Yes.
during the Azimio launch, did he not speed past through Ruto? He did.
Yeah.
And he continues to. Today, Raila continues to gain ground on the mountain, slowly but surely. And this is the kind of sneakiness you need to become president. And by the way, it didn't start with Raila. Every one of our presidents has had a significant dose of sneakiness. Jomo Kenyatta's sneakiness. He was a man for all seasons.
Yes.
Everything to every single demographic.
Yes.
Whose votes and endorsement he needed
Yes.
to become president in 1963.
Oh, yes.
Toroitich Arap Moi's, his sneakiness was playing the underdog throughout. Mwai Kibaki's sneakiness lay in wait for 10 years, unlike Kenneth Matiba, who shot to glory and his fame quickly came down. Uhuru's sneakiness, tyranny of numbers. Raila will not reinvent the wheel. His sneakiness will be like that of Uhuru Kenyatta. Tyranny of numbers.
Oh, yes.
Ruto, in the meantime, hardly understands the definition of the word sneaky.
And I've watched Watuna full lights from behind.
Yes.
Blinded.
The thing about him, because he's taking care of chicken, probably thinks it's a tractor.
Now, I'd like to take us back in time, farther back than 1930. In fact, to 1648. The place, Germany, in a region known as Westphalia. Two treaties were signed after 4 years of negotiation, which led to to the end of two very long wars. One which had lasted 30 years, and an even longer Dutch War of Independence, which lasted about 80 years.
Yeah.
The end of these wars and the two treaties came to be known collectively as the Peace of Westphalia. It also marked a major turning point in world history as it marked the beginning of the end of the age of empires, and it ushered in the modern nation-state system. It was a major step in people rethinking how they organize themselves, and at the heart of it were principles that are still relevant today. Chief among them were decentralization of power, peaceful coexistence, and the right of people to have a say in the affairs that concern them. On an international level, this translates to the principle of sovereignty. And on a national level, this translates to citizen participation. So, as students of government, how are these principles, which are centuries old, relevant to us today, and how have they evolved for us to apply them to suit our needs? When we look at Kenya's devolution project and the First Amendment, which is meant to secure even more gains from the benefits of devolution, we can recognize that the decentralization of power and resources is a sound principle. We can recognize that where this is done fairly and equitably, it fosters peaceful coexistence. And we can also recognize that this decentralization of power and resources is what enables citizen participation, empowering people to have a say in affairs that concern them by bringing government and resources closer to them to address the needs that are most pressing to them. What many people may not realize, however, is that devolution and multipartyism go hand in hand. In order for people to have a say in the affairs that concern them, political parties are one of the main avenues that enable organized political expression and organized citizen participation. And if devolution is regional, it is therefore not inconsistent to have regional parties. In fact, what would be inconsistent and even counterintuitive would be to say, on the one hand, that you have decentralized administrative power and resources by way of devolution, but on the other hand, to say that a leader sitting in Nairobi should dictate the political expression of a person in Lokichogio, in Loyangalani, in Ronyenjes, or in Nyaribari Chache. Regional parties reflect the reality of devolution. A regional party is about regional interests. It is not inconsistent with political self-determination, and it is not about ethnicity. If we're to insist that regional parties are purely ethnic affairs, then we should also say that regional economic blocs are also ethnic affairs.
Oh, yes.
And yet they are not.
Yes.
And in the same way that regional economic blocs can come together to pursue common interests, regional parties can come together to form coalitions around common interests.
That's right.
Interests can be local and interests can be global.
Yes.
Finally, just because a political party is a regional party does not mean it is not a national party. What ultimately makes a party national is not a question of geography. It is, for example, that a Kisii living and working in Narok should be able to proudly be a member of a regional party where he or she is living and working, and to even be part of the leadership of that party. The essential attribute that makes a political party national is that its membership and leadership is made up of any Kenyan from any part of Kenya who identifies with the interests represented by that party. So, our message to the fellows at UDA is this. It is misleading and dishonest to tell Kenyans that a regional party is not a national party. In fact, when William Ruto insists on forming a national party, what he actually seems to be advocating is a return to Section 2A of the old constitution, a one-party system. And this is because in the school of Moism, William Ruto is index number 1.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you surprised?
No. Now, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to assess the headlines: topical, speculative, repetitive, groundbreaking, thoughtful, or just plain lazy. I'm gravitating towards the People Daily. Uhuru hosts MPs after Ruto defeat. I think we toss everything else and leave the People Daily onto the political pieces we call cartoons. Humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, and effective or just plain lazy. Shall we tackle the Daily Nation?
Yes, Daily Nation, we have an hourglass, and in the sand is the OCA principles, and it's basically time is ticking down to them picking a presidential candidate, and only one of them can pass through that slim neck of the hourglass. And when we look at the headlines, we can see that Kalonzo, the Star is saying that Kalonzo team pushes for poll deal with Raila. So we can expect that maybe Kalonzo will be joining Azimio. And to be honest, Oka is increasingly looking like a Luya affair with Wetangula, Mudavadi, and Cyrus Jirongo. So,
okay, interesting piece there. Shall we look at the Star?
Star, you've got a drawing. It's a cartoon of two airplanes in a deadbeat arm wrestle. One of the planes is representing Kenya and the other is representing Dubai. And the context of this is recently Kenya suspended all inbound and transit passenger flights from Dubai. And this was in retaliation against a move by Dubai to ban all passenger flights from Kenya. Yes, I mean, nobody said any reason, but I think this is okay. This is great, you know. If Dubai feels that they can ban flights from Kenya, the economic hub of East and Central Africa, you can do the same. Wakirusha tunarusha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, iko nini?
And now in the Standard, we have a cartoon. It takes place in two panels. You've got yesterday and today. In the top panel, we see Magufuli being exalted by his people, who all proclaim that he is the anointed one and that there is no other like him. And in the background, you've got security forces who are assaulting an opposition party there. And then in the bottom, a similar image is happening. President Suluhu this time, also being exalted, being proclaimed as the anointed one, while the security forces harass the opposition leader. If you've read the Dictator's Handbook, you will know that it's what do they say? Same, different.
Different forests, same monkeys.
Yeah. Same monkeys.
Yeah.
That's what power is all about.
Or different monkeys, same forest.
Yeah.
And I have nothing totally against Samia Suluhu. We support her.
Yeah.
Gado, if you don't want to go back to your home, continue drawing these cartoons.
The king is dead. Long live the queen.
Yes, that's right. That's a good way to put it. Whom should we give the winning cartoon?
Let's do it to the Star. At least Kenya is fighting back against Wakirusha tunarusha.
So I think we'll give it to the Star. We could toss the Daily Nation and the Standard. Well then, we had a winning headline, just to remind you, from the People Daily. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are also on Go TV, and we are also on different social media platforms.
Yes.
You can find me on TikTok, Maina wa Kangema.
Yes. You can find me on Twitter at Kmaina and TikTok Kandabongo.
And you can find me on Twitter at Chaka Sichangi.
Fantastic. Have a good evening.